Hey everybody, Leilani with the Magical Solution here. So I wanted to come back on because my last video about Espiritismo and its relationship to the ATRs got a lot of great feedback. And if I didn't already make myself clear in the last video, I definitely wanted to clear something up in this video. So first and foremost, that last video was meant for anyone who was interested in exploring Espiritismo without having to fear having to initiate into something or having to feel like they are required to then do this other thing because they were interested in Espiritismo, right? So that was I wanted to kind of lay that to rest and give comfort to those people. Now I want to speak to people who do see the relationship with Espiritismo and the ATRs and want to know a little bit more about that. So first and foremost, it does happen. I mean, I said that in the last video. We do see that Espiritismo is utilized as sort of like a preliminary aspect or a beginning part to the, initiations, right? And what I wanted to make clear in this video is that never once did I say that that's a bad thing. All right? Never once. And here's the reason why. There are so many traditions out there within the ATRs that really truly feel that Espiritismo is a wonderful foundation, right? And there have even been observations and reports of, orishas and spirits coming down during an initiation and who have spoken out loud that they were upset or that they were not happy with the fact that this particular person didn't go through Espiritismo before coming to them, and had made it very clear during the mounting that this person is not ready yet. So it just goes to show that even if something is a standalone practice, even if the associations among these groups are strong, there is still something to be said about Espiritismo's usefulness. Now, another thing I want to make clear, all right, is let's be honest. Y'all didn't even know what Espiritismo was until like 2010, 2011, when people like San Sisto Brujo Luis, when people like Papa Hector Salva, when people like my man over here, let me get this book here for you guys. It's a good one. Where's it at? Oh my god, I have so many books here. When my man Florencio Guevara from Whispers from the Cave came out, when these guys came out and started making Espiritismo more accessible and more open to the English-speaking world on the internet and in literature, that's when we started to see curiosity around Espiritismo. But the reality is that Espiritismo really was not talked about unless it was in association with the ATRs. And so at the end of the day, we gotta give respect. Us Espiritistas gotta give respect to the ATRs for once again holding on to a tradition and carrying a tradition through into the new age, because the truth of the matter is that many of us would not know what these traditions are had it not been for its association with the ATRs, right? And so that first video was just to let you know that the misconception is there and would give you a list of reasons as to why. But the reality is that there's really no right or wrong. There's no, oh, this shouldn't happen and oh, this should happen. It's just how the culture evolved and how the traditions moved together in our history, So I just kind of wanted to make that clear. I think that was something that I had gotten a couple of pieces of feedback where they were like, Leilani, are you saying that, it's bad that people are going through Espiritismo before getting it? I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. So I definitely wanted to clear that up. But yeah, again, if you guys have any questions, there are so many resources out there now. And yes, there are certain forms of Espiritismo that are a dying art. Like, for example, Mesa Blanca is one of the few practices, which is Puerto Rican Espiritismo, that is, I wouldn't say it's a dying art. I would say that it is a very, very unknown practice because there are still so very few people who practice it. And of those few people, there's even fewer that publicly speak about it. And so, if you're interested in things like this, I highly suggest that you reach out to your local spiritist or spiritualist centers, because they may have connections to people who practice Espiritismo. I also encourage you to go on YouTube, right? And reach out to, people like Florencio Guevara, people like Francisco Brujo Luis, people like Hector Salva, because these are some of the OGs that help to bring that information to the English-speaking world here on the internet, right? Also, I encourage you to go get some books. Now, granted, a lot of the books on Espiritismo, and I mean the majority of the books on Espiritismo, are going to be written in Spanish. It's just going to be what it is, right? So the very few pieces of English books, I have a list of them on my website. But the reality is that you may have to learn Spanish in order to read these books. You may have to figure out a way to translate them in order to read these books, or have someone who can speak Spanish translate them for you. But whatever the case may be, it is totally, totally worth it. Now, if you are someone who already is very familiar with Espiritismo, but let's say, there are just some aspects of it that don't make sense to you, or there's some pieces of it that are not clear, or if you find yourself doing rituals and or practices within Espiritismo that you're just like, why am I doing this? Like, I was instructed to do this thing, but like, why? Why am I doing this thing? Or I was instructed to, have this on my altar, but like, why? Why is this thing on my altar? And whoever instructed you didn't answer those questions for you, then I highly suggest you go to my website, because I do a spiritual development intensive twice a year. And when I say an intensive, I freaking mean that. It's a 10-week, like 4 months basically, of intense spiritual development through the lens of Espiritismo, where you will understand the who, what, why, when, and where of everything that it is that we do, including our tools, including our prayers, including all of it. I also do an apprenticeship program once a year for 1 to 3 people, and that is an even more deep dive into Espiritismo. And most importantly, I host misas every week, and I have a private group dedicated specifically to Espiritismo and the spiritual development of the Espiritistas in that group. So if you are interested in expanding your knowledge, so you're already familiar, but you want to expand, definitely check me out. Okay, so that's www.themagicalsolution.com. And yeah, I really hope to see you there, and I would love to be able to answer a few of your questions if I can. And if I can't, I will refer you to the right people. Anyway, this is how we grow, guys.